So thank you very much for joining. Hopefully you will get some benefit out of this. Let's start just by telling you who you are going to be listening to and interacting with today. So I am the Head of Tech Services for Nasstar, and I'm joined today by Kritzia, who is Senior Product Marketing Manager at Microsoft, and Jack Fisher, who is one of our Viva gurus from the pre-sales team. Please do, as we go through this, I know Jack's just put the question into the Q&A tab, but please do make this interactive. It's always better when we get questions from the floor asking about specifics rather than us just chatting away, but we will try and make it as real world. This is much more a discussion around the pros and cons really of it and where it might fit into your business. So the more you add in, the more you're going to get out of this, hopefully. So just a reminder very quickly about Viva in its entirety. So we started this some time ago now with a session on Viva Connections, which is really about sharing information within your organization and bringing people together and making stuff appear that is relevant to them and the things that they need to know. We did a session following that on Viva Insights, and that was really focused around the kind of management information and personal information you can get around where you're being productive, whether or not you're putting in too many hours, whether or not the meetings contain people who just aren't interacting and should they really be there. So that was a great session. I'm going to have to park up my minor OCD about the fact that these aren't in the order that we're talking them about. We then followed up with Viva Learning, which was how to bring learning right into the daily activity rather than it being a task that you set aside specifically and you go and spend 2 or 3 days doing, or whatever it may be. This was how you actually brought learning right into your daily working routine. And today we're going to talk about Viva Topics and look at how we can connect people with the right knowledge and people looking for the right information, and how that's going to appear within the world of Viva. And we'll look at it from 2 angles, and one is from the user side and the second one is from the management side. There's really, this is probably the one that I think excites probably Jack and myself most. Viva Topics is really there to bring the knowledge to the forefront, how you find information, how you understand things. Most organizations have an awful lot of information on an awful lot of topics. If you work in an industry where there's a lot of acronyms or project names or complicated terminology or processes, then you can basically set the AI engine to work to do most of the legwork for you. So this will collate all the information about documents you have. It will bring the people who wrote those documents together, etc. And so when your users are looking to understand something, it will be presented to them in the line of their work and with the relevant documentation and the relevant people to basically for them to be able to get to the point that they need to know what's going on. And I think part of this is the fact that, again, you're not having to go and look for knowledge. So, for example, if there is an acronym that is in the middle of a document or in the middle of a Teams conversation, you don't know what it is, you'll be able to just hover over it. It will pop up a little short summary, and then you'll be able to just dive into that. And if you really still don't understand it from the documentation, it gives you the people that you could potentially go and talk to. But we'll have a look at this as we go through. But this, I think, is probably one of the most powerful Viva modules. And yes, we will jump in, I think, have a look at it. And the more that you can share, the better as we go through. And I think really what we're starting to see now in combination with Viva Learning, etc., is the way that Viva Topics also works is changing the way that information and knowledge is shared. And so this is becoming a much more collaborative process. We're getting documents and information from various different people. It might not be the product owner, it could be people who are involved in it. So we'll go through it, we'll show the demo, but we are seeing a shift now in the way that information is being surfaced in an organization. So we'll crack on with the first demo.
Okay, so for today's demo, we're going to do a quick run through of Microsoft Viva Topics. We'll look at how topics can be displayed in SharePoint sites and news articles, then click through onto some topics to show you a topic page and the type of content within it. Then we'll look at how topics can be shared using apps like Outlook Web Access. We'll jump into the Admin Center and show you how to configure topics and restrict content if that's something you need to do. So as you can see, we're in the Contoso Electronics SharePoint site here. This is a modern online SharePoint site. So as you can see, we've got various news articles. We've got our Viva Connections dashboard over here. But if we scroll down a bit, you can see something here which says, tell me something about the Collaboration All-Stars. So Collaboration All-Stars here is a topic curated through Microsoft Viva Topics. If we hover our mouse over it, you can see you get the topic card. In here, it tells you a little bit more about the Collaboration All-Stars. The All-Stars, Collaboration All-Stars, is a virtual team of experts who are committed to helping the entire company adopt the latest collaboration tools. If we scroll down a bit, it will show you the people that are connected to this topic and then a bunch of resources that also relate to it. So if we just quickly click on the actual topic itself, it'll take us through to the topic center, but displaying that topic card. Here you can get a little bit more information. You can see things like the alternate name. So for every Microsoft topic, say there's an acronym that goes with it, you can add an alternate name there, which means that if someone's searching for something, they search for the acronym, it can bring up the topic that that's related to. As you can see, there's pinned people here. It's also suggesting that Megan Bowen, who I'm logged in with, is a person that should contribute, who has contributed resources to this. So perhaps they should be a pinned person. We'll come back to that later. As you scroll down further, you get suggested files and pages. So these are all sorts of files, pages, documents that might have Collaboration All-Stars as part of it. And what Viva Topics has done when it's used AI to go and crawl through your SharePoint environment, it's found a bunch of documents and a bunch of pages and suggested that these files and pages should be part of the topic. Now, I'm just going to jump in and show you another topic here that's on a news article. So not only can you do it on sites, you can do it on news articles as well. So here we're proud to welcome Miriam Graham, who's joining Contoso as Chief Marketing Officer. So if you look through here, you can quickly say it's this organization which brings together Rainier. So Rainier is another topic. So again, if we hover our mouse over it, we get the topic card. We get some people that are related to it and some resources. You can also see related topics down here. So that's an interesting one. I'm just going to click through and show you how that displays on the actual topic page. So like I said, once again, you get alternate names, you get a little description of what this topic is about, you get the pinned people, and you get your suggested files and pages. Now, this is the interesting bit about related topics here. It shows you a little map of other topics that are probably related to this one. So you can then click or hover over onto the topic here and see another topic card, which gives you more information about like a project acronym or something like that. Again, you can click through to the topic and then you'll see more information about that specific topic. And hopefully you'll get an insight into how the two things are related. And again, scrolling down here, yet again, you get the map here of everything that's related to this topic. So that's a very quick overview of topics within SharePoint sites and news pages. And if I just click through onto Outlook Web Access here, I'm going to quickly show you an email that was sent where we've actually shared some topics. So after Megan's gone through and looked at the SharePoint site, she's seen the Collaboration All-Stars and she thought, let's just drop Nesta a quick email and tell him that I've just found this on the SharePoint site and thought that he should take a look. So she's composed an email and sent it to Nesta, but she's used the hashtag functionality to hashtag a topic here. So Nesta will get this email and he will have 3 topics within it that he can highlight and hover over. Also, how are things going with the Mark 8 and DC 320 areas right now? And again, hovering over them gives you that topic card experience. Another really handy feature here is if you've got an email with multiple topics in, you get the little number at the top right where you can drop down and jump straight to topics, or hover over and get the topic card straight away from the content that's within the email. Just going to show you exactly how that works. So I compose a quick email, give it a subject, and then type a quick intro, but then I'm just going to hashtag some topics. As soon as you hit the hashtag, it brings up some suggested topics, so I can pick from that list. If there's some that I actually know that I want to put in here, I can do hashtag. That's the topic we looked at earlier. It really is that simple. You just hashtag a topic, you can send it in an email. Now that functionality is very soon coming to Teams chats and channels, etc. And I think that's going to be a really, really great feature. Can't come soon enough.
Okay, so that is the user side, and I think with that, it's a nice clear demo in the sense that when you're interacting with users, you can see that you can bring this right into Path. You're not sending them to some strange link or anything like that. You're just giving them a little hashtag. They will go straight to the right content. So what's that like from a management perspective? How much is there of an overhead to deal with this? So we'll jump onto the second of the 2-piece demo. That's gone one slide too far. And we'll have a look at the management piece.
So I'm now just going to quickly flip over to the admin settings. So within here, you can see we're within the admin center. We've gone into settings, org settings, then we're going to click topic experiences. Let that load. So here you can see topic discovery. So this is where we can choose how topics will be sourced. Existing security, compliance, privacy and search crawl settings are enforced. So here when you set this up for the first time, this is where Viva Topics will use AI to go and crawl across your entire SharePoint environment and start surfacing those topics to be curated by your knowledge managers. So select SharePoint topic sources. Only selected sites is clicked here. So if we click view on here, you can see you've got a few different options. You can click all sites. This is recommended. You're going to get the most sort of bang for your buck here because it's going to crawl across absolutely every bit of information and surface as many topics as possible. You can do all except selected sites. So that would look at everything other than the sites that you select, or you can do only selected sites. So if you know that you've got a bunch of SharePoint sites you do not want topics to go and crawl through, perhaps there's very sensitive information in there, or you're just setting up a pilot or something like that and you just want to nail down to just a few areas, you can do only selected sites. Now this can be uploaded via a CSV file, so you can populate a CSV file, upload it, and then once you click go on there, that's when it will go off and search the selected sites. You can also exclude topics here. Now we've not selected to exclude any here, but in here you could exclude topics by name, and then you could go and browse for certain topics or browse for certain sites, or you can download the CSV template and exclude topics that way by name. Topic visibility. So on here, this is successfully modify these settings. You'll need to have group admin permissions. So my user doesn't quite have that at the moment, but you can still see how this works. So who can see topics? Everyone in my organization. That's probably how you want to do it. But again, if you're running a pilot or you've got a group of people that aren't licensed for topics or something along those lines, you can do it so only selected people or a security group. So you can roll this out sort of incrementally to people if required. Now, I'm just going to click on the advanced settings here. So control if AI suggested topics are visible to users. So determine if unconfirmed AI suggested topics are discoverable as highlights and in search results based off the confidence in the topic. Knowledge managers will see these topics in the topic management dashboard. We've selected all suggested topics, but you could do no suggested topics. Topic permissions. Again, here we can do who can create and edit topics. At the moment, that's set to everyone in my organization, and you can do who can manage topics. And again, at the moment, that's set to everyone in my organization. Obviously, when you click through here, you could click only selected people or security groups. So again, if you want to restrict that knowledge management role or the ability to manage topics or create and edit topics, you can do that via Azure Active Directory security groups. So, and then the last tab here is just the topic center. You can give the topic center a name if you need to, or you can just leave it. I think default, it just comes up as topic center, and then it will give you the site address where you can click through and get to the topic center. So within the topic center, as just a standard user, this is what you'll see. We've listed you on these topics. Did we get it right? So the AI has gone off, it's surfaced a topic, and it's curated that topic, and it's found perhaps that this user has contributed a bunch of information either to documents or created some SharePoint content that's related to these topics. So it thinks that Megan should be listed as a person on this topic. And do you remember when we looked at the card earlier and it has the people related to the topic? So this is where you can come in and say, yeah, actually, you know, I am part of Worldwide Importers. So this is a really good, I work with that customer and it's a really good idea that I am part of that topic. So I can click yes. That then becomes part of the confirmed topics down here. So these are all topics I've gone through and said, yes, I am related to that topic. So obviously at the moment it's just showing A to 22, but you can click see all. And this is where you'll get the whole list of all the topics that you are listed on. Now, again, you can click through there and that's where you'll see the pinned people and its topic related topics map as well. So that is a very quick demo of everything Microsoft Viva Topics can give to a user. So to summarize, Viva Topics is a brilliant way of curating knowledge within your organization by using AI to do the majority of the legwork. It can then be used to surface that knowledge to the people who need it through the M365 platform, whether that be through search, documents, SharePoint sites, and soon to be Teams. I personally think it's a really great tool and I'm looking forward to the further developments within it, not least, like I said, it becoming available to send topics right within Teams chats and channels.
Okay, so those are the demos. Now we want to have sort of a bit of a real world chat about this. So myself and Jack and Kritzia will go through. As I said, you know, please do put questions in there. It's always better that way.
We actually have a question, Pete. So I have
answered it in the chat. Go on then. Go for it.
I've answered it in the chat, but I'll expand on it a bit as well. So Laurent has asked, what happens if someone in the mail, so that's when we were sending a topic through OWA, what if you're sending that to someone who is a guest within your tenant? What experience will they have? Now, at the moment, Viva Topics doesn't support providing licenses or user permissions for guests or external users. Hopefully that functionality will come soon. Now, just to expand on that, another question I've been asked from some people who are putting topics in for currently is what happens if someone doesn't have a Viva Topics license but is included in a mail with that. So they won't have the experience where they can hover over and see the topic card, but they will still get a hyperlink which takes you through to the topic page. So they'll still be able to click through and go to the topic. Just doesn't quite have that seamless experience of being able to just hover over and get the information that you need.
So that takes you to SharePoint.
Yeah.
Cool. Brilliant. And I think, you know, Jack, Kritzia, probably one for both of you, I guess, is looking at this. I think, yeah, I can see lots and lots of potential for this, and you know, as I said, I'm quite happy about it. I think the main concern or the main question that will be coming off of an awful lot of people is, how do we know that if we're just letting an AI bot run, that we're getting the right kind of information back. So I know you looked at, part of the demo, Jack looked at confirming that I was a person who was involved in that topic. That's great. That's a nice little safety check. But how do we know it's giving the right information back? Because you got to have faith, right, in the technology.
Yeah, that's true. And so, like we said, Viva Topics goes off and does a lot of the legwork for you by surfacing all these topics. But one thing I've actually seen from doing a live deployment of it is that sometimes it actually surfaces topics that perhaps aren't relevant, or multiple topics for the same thing that actually you only need one topic for. So it does do a lot of the legwork for it, but you do need to put the people in place to manage those topics. So you need knowledge managers in place, and you want those to kind of be champions of Viva Topics. So if you think about it from the sort of adoption and change management world, you want some champions who really get topics and are really interested in it to help you manage those topics and make sure that the information in them is relevant. So you're going to need to select people from across your business as well, because there'll be some topics that certain people will know a lot about, and there'll be topics which they haven't got a clue about. But you need people who are good communicators as well there, I think, so that they go off and ask the right people the right questions to help you build up those topics.
Okay, and a follow-up question from Laurent is, the real question is, what amount of data is needed for AI to work properly? Now, that's quite an interesting one, especially when you're doing pilots, I think.
Yeah, that is a great question. Who's
going to field that one? Is that going to be? I'll tell you what, why don't you do that one, and then
okay,
Chris here, we'll give you the license.
So yeah, so it's the more data, the better, basically. If you've got a SharePoint site with 20 documents in it, there's no point in turning on Viva Topics, because you may as well manually create 20 topics for each document in there. But yeah, like I said, the more the better. I think you need to be looking at having thousands of entries in your SharePoint, really, to make it worthwhile, and for it to go out there. A deployment we're doing currently has a lot of information in their SharePoint. I can't tell you the exact amount, but it's already surfaced into the thousands of topics. So basically, the more the better. But I'd say you want a good thousands and thousands of documents and articles or things that it can go and surface, really.
So
if I may just add to that.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, sometimes, when we think about, oh, how can I start a POC? How can I see if this actually works? We're tempted to say, okay, let me look at something small so that I have I'm comfortable with it. I'm not making it scroll over my system, and I can understand if actually this is working or not. Well, with topics, actually this approach doesn't work, because what the AI does best in this case is discovering, unearthing the connections that are not so visible to you at your a plain eye. So if you are giving it such as a very small sample or too specific one, you won't be able to get the most benefit from it. Whereas when you can, for example, let's say that you have 2 or 3 different folders or databases, and some of these are interconnected but not necessarily, and the information is more varied. That's where you actually get to see the power of the AI doing something for you. And this is connected again to the question that you had before. Definitely AI needs to be supported by the feedback of us humans. We still need it, absolutely, 100%. It needs our input, it needs our feedback, it needs us saying, oh, this is interesting, this is not, this is a good connection, this is not. And then AI can learn. But especially throughout that process, there needs to be kind of a reiterative process of learning, and that's what's going to bring the most results.
Yeah. Also, just to quickly add on that, you can also give feedback on topics. So people, if they can say whether it was a useful topic or not, and then the AI can get better at understanding whether it's created a good topic or not. So people need to be involved and use it and feedback to it as well.
And I guess really, that piece around surfacing the data and good amount of data. Chris, you work for a relatively small organization. How busy does it get? How busy does the topics get for you?
I mean, it's huge. And so at that point, you need to decide how you want to manage it. it's probably like right now compared to like all the Viva modules, like the one that has like the most interaction and usage, considering also like people that within Microsoft interacts with the topics or maybe add information on that, or like just browse and search for information. But what we decided to put in place, because we're such a vast world, basically, of topics, was like to add one step for us, which was actually we need to request when we want to add more topics and new topics. And then when we add that, we cross-reference to, is it one that the AI machine has suggested? And then once there's a click, like we start implementing it and cascade it down. So we added small little steps in addition to what it would be just letting it go without any kind of process in place, because we wanted it to be more useful. As you can imagine, there's so much information that sometimes it can be a little bit of an overload for users. So we want to be able to shape what's useful to them in their specific use cases and help grow organically, instead of having all at once dropped at them and they don't know what to do with it. So we have chosen to do something a little bit more structured, but with an organic growth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think it's a real world example of what you do and don't need to do with it. I think, there's obviously an awful lot of grunt work is taken away by the AI tool, and Microsoft's probably a prime example for having created it, because it wasn't that long ago that there was I believe a Microsoft acronym dictionary used to go around, because there were so many acronyms within the organization that you'd come across things you just didn't know. So I think that's that's a prime example. The next question we've got in is about Viva Topics and how it's licensed. Is it covered within the E5? Who wants to take that one? Neither of you?
I'm happy to. I thought
I can do
it. It's not included in your E5 license. You can purchase it separately. So you can, if you're not looking at the other Viva modules, but you should be, then you can purchase it separately, or it can be included in the Viva Suite module, which license, which gives you access to all 5 of the current Viva modules that there are now.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think. There will be organizations looking at it saying, well, okay, it's great, I like the idea of it, but I've got search functionality in SharePoint, for example. Do I need to pay for Viva to do that?
Well, that works only one way, right?
That's it, it's one way. Yeah.
It's only one way. That's the problem. So it's not a problem. Sometimes it's very useful. I leverage search a lot in my work, so it's fantastic. It's more the way you're thinking. If you are sitting at home and you are looking for information, how many times it happened to you that you just like went to Wikipedia to see something, and like you could see all of a sudden all of the resources together, and you could understand if one topic was related to another. How useful was that? So we're trying to recreate something similar, where you just don't find only the information, but also you understand all of the connections, and you give the chance to the employees to contribute. Because ultimately, what we're doing is making sure that the collective knowledge of all the people that are working together is being transmitted somehow. And so if I'm leaving the company, that knowledge doesn't go away with me, but actually stays within the company and can be leveraged from people coming after as well. So you're trying to build this kind of like Wikipedia for enterprise that can save you time, but also can speed up any new onboarder and make sure that also the experts of each topic are highlighted and rewarded for what they're doing, which I think is absolutely like a great outcome.
Yeah. Also, if you go searching and you search and a topic comes up in your search, you then click on that topic. Rather than having to go and find individual documents, you can then view the topic itself and all of the related documents, which is brilliant. And like you said, that's one way, isn't it? That's people going looking for the information rather than the information coming to them, which is what Topics is all about. Lauren, has also said, yeah, he agreed when we were talking about the AI part that people definitely need to be involved in the creation of topics rather than just AI. And that's true. You can manually create topics as well. So if AI hasn't gone and found one and you know that there should be a topic on this, then your knowledge managers can easily, very quickly go and create topics, add relevant people, add relevant documents, add related topics to it as well.
Right. And I guess really from, you know, going back to the user side, because this whole tool is user experience, right? It's helping to give you the knowledge that you need. Can you let's say, for example, the suggestion is that I'm a person who should know about a topic, and I get to the point where, you know, I've been added to loads of topics because I do lots of different things. Can I take myself out of that loop?
Yeah, you can go and say that you don't want to be listed on a topic. Absolutely. Yeah, you'd be listed on every topic if we set it up on ours, Pete, I think.
Yeah. Well, not short of an opinion or two or things.
I think that's a fine balance that you have to strike there, right? Like in between allowing people to be proud of being expert in their areas and knowing that, you know, okay, if I want to know everything about Viva, I can go and reach out to Peter and he will have an answer for it. Whereas, or maybe allowing them to put some boundaries and deciding I want to detach a little bit myself from this. So this is like incredibly important. But I see that again as an opportunity also, like for myself. I like to, especially in a hybrid / remote world where actually like the normal interaction is not so easy anymore. That makes all of a sudden possible for a colleague that I haven't met yet, knowing that I exist, that I have like contributed to this particular thing, that I'm an expert on an area. And so I find it like quite fascinating as like a mechanism just like to connect people and knowledge. But at the same time, I also like want to say, hey, maybe I don't want to ask or like answer to questions. So maybe I want to like be a little bit more detached, and that is also fine.
Yeah. Like you said, it builds that community, doesn't it? Sorry, Pete.
No, I was just going to ask what sort of communication you did to the user base, you know, within Microsoft when this came out, or is it, you know, was it the usual sort of thing that a lot of companies do, where all of a sudden I'm writing something and I get a pop-up box?
So I think there were like two different stages of the deployment, as you can imagine. Like at the very beginning, they started off like with a smaller group within developers and IT that were like testing the product. And then when they were ready, like to basically like just deploy a little bit more broadly, they went at scale with different user groups. And it was like a communication for those user groups, just that it was available, just on how the process would work. And it was very simple SharePoint online website that you can go in there, you find all the information you need. It explains exactly like step by step how it would work. There is the link to the topic center, there's the link like to the manual, and there's also like a way to ask questions. So they created like a Yammer community. We, of course, let's say to nurture our communities, we leverage Yammer. So like you can ask questions about how to use the product or anything that you want to add, and then whoever like deployed it or like helped implemented it can be able like to reach out and answer the question. So it was kind of like it wasn't a huge launch, as you can imagine. It wasn't like, okay, so now everybody start using it. It was like a slow paced communication, and it happened very organically. And because of that, actually was quite successful because people were very intrigued. We wanted like to test it for themselves, and then they started to see some of the results, especially when they started to see one topic, and so then they landed there because they wanted to have more information. They were like, oh, I wonder if I can add something that is interesting for me. And so that really kicked off the whole process.
Great. Okay, well, we're coming towards the end. We have got one more question in, which we'll throw in quickly, and then we'll go on to the summary. I missed the other Viva webinars on topics. Is it okay to roll out alone, or is it better with other Viva modules? Jack, do you want to?
Yeah, so you could totally roll it out alone. It would have lots and lots of benefits to that. I think there's definitely a case for topics and learning to be rolled out at the same time, just because you can integrate the two. So you could, one great example, which is something we do when we do a pilot, is we'll help you build like an onboarding experience with Viva Learning, and there'll actually be a topic called, say, new starters. When you click on the topic, there's a whole load of new starter learning content embedded from Viva Learning in the topic. So the two go hand in hand really well there. Having topic cards appear in things like Viva Connections dashboard is really good as well. So they do work really, really well together, but that's not to say that you can't just push topics out first.
Great.
One thing that I'll add just for 1 second would be a lot of customers prior to the deployment of topics also decided to leverage SharePoint syntax, just because it helps a little bit surfacing some of the metadata and like some of the keywords that can be leveraged and used for topics as well. So if that's your case, then maybe you have like a lot of document that need first to be put onto SharePoint and analyzed. Like that could be also like a good, let's say, a good companion for Viva Topics.
Good. Right.
Perfect.
We have 2 minutes to wrap up. Thanks for the question.
There was one more question, which was basically, is it a good idea to perhaps pick a specific department and do a pilot rollout, which actually I think segues us really nicely into your wrap up to say that we do pilot things like that. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, I didn't see that one. Did you publish that?
Yeah.
One? Right.
Yeah, it literally just came in. So.
Okay. So, sorry, do you want to answer that one, or do you want to go on?
Yeah. So basically, we can do pilot deployments for you. So picking a department, say 100, 200 users to build up a bunch of knowledge managers and stuff is a really great way of doing it. And then it really helps you just accelerate to build it out to the rest of your company. But more, yeah, you crack on, Pete.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think this particularly needs much conversation. You know, hopefully we've covered all of these points fairly well. So I think if we just dive on to the next one, I think that pilot thing you were talking about, Jack, it's definitely the route that most people are going. I think the main takeaway from my perspective is that when Viva came out, there was a lot of interest around it. People were wondering, you know, where they can use it, what it was, but it was fairly unknown. We've got a lot of information now. There's a lot more use cases. We're seeing an awful lot more take up from a practicality level with clients. People are starting to see the real benefits of Viva. An awful lot of that is coming from departments like HR and the internal comms teams, but even at a very, very sort of basic business level, just having the ability there for your users to be able to just hover over something and find out the basic information rather than guessing or not knowing what it is it's hugely important. So regardless of which route you want to go, you know, you can either talk to us, we can put you in contact with, you know, Jack or somebody else from the Viva team. You know, there are various different pilots that we can roll out for you, which typically include connections, because we think that's a really good benchmark to get in right at the beginning. And again, there's accelerated workshops as well, whether you're eligible or not. There is also a breakfast briefing, I think, coming up in a few weeks' time, which might be more practical for you, where you can just have a conversation with us over a bite to eat. So yeah, hopefully that's proven useful. Kritzia, Jack, thank you very much. You're great as always. And if anybody else has got any questions, do feel free just to get in touch with us, and we will get back to you.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you
very much, all.